I'm sure that everyone is in an agreement that we should have had our transfer business done and dusted by now, or at the very least, have had some improvements made in our midfield, who were really found wanting, weren't they, in our first game of the season against Sunderland last weekend. But thankfully, there is still time to get this right. But it's a shame that we had to sacrifice 3 points against Sunderland before any action was taken. So there is unlikely to be enough time to get midfielders in for Friday's visit of Chelsea. But if the rumours are to be believed, then at least we're finally making bids for midfielders. Now, on Tuesday evening, I put out a video updating you on the news that West Ham had made 3 bids. And that of the 3, there was confidence that 1 looks likely to be completed. There's a second being a distinct possibility, but we're not signing 3 midfielders. Now, I suggested that the 3 bids were likely to have been for Ngal'Ayel Mukau of LOSC Lille, for Andre Santos of Chelsea, and Fabio Vieira of Arsenal. Now, these were educated guesses rather than any insider knowledge I might have been privy to. Since then, 2 of the 3 midfielder bids have been more or less confirmed, but they're not all those 3 names that I mentioned. Mukau of Lille is certainly one of them, and the other is that we're back in for Mateus Fernandes of Southampton. So despite being told last week that we would not make an improved offer of the 30 million that was originally bid for the under-21 Portuguese international, it seems that we have apparently made an improved bid. Now, I think it's good in one way, but in another, as I said last week, I'm not so sure that Fernandes is worth up to £30 million, to be really honest with you, let alone any more than that. But if this is the player that Potter and Macaulay have identified to improve our midfield, then I hope we manage to get him. Now, when it comes to the third bid on top of Fernandes and Mukau, Tim Vickery, the Sky Sports journalist who specialises in South American football, suggested that we've got an interest in Andre Santos of Chelsea. So it seemed quite feasible to throw that name into the hat. And to be honest, I'd love for it to be him. But given that we're now back in for Fernandes, and given that we've upped our £30 million offer, and given that Chelsea believe that Santos is worth anything up to about 45, 50 million pounds, plus on top of that, that we're not asking for any players to be loaned to us, then it seems that probably Santos is not the target we're going for at the moment. But there are a number of other names that have come to light, some that we have heard of in this transfer window before, some that we've heard about in previous transfer windows, and there's one name that has popped up which is new. Now, let's deal with the names that we've heard of before in this transfer window. Now, there was a suggestion that we might be interested in Leicester City's Bilal El Khanous, but now he looks to be en route to Crystal Palace, with Palace set to lose Eberechi Eze to Spurs. Then there was a name that was mentioned early on in the transfer window, and it's a name that I know Gio would be extremely happy about if a bid was actually made, and that's for Haydn Hackney of Middlesbrough. Now, the name that comes from previous transfer windows include Jonathan Rowe of Marseille and Conor Gallagher of Atletico Madrid. And then the one new name that's been added to this window is Marc Casado of Barcelona. Now, every single one of these players has great attributes, but which of them would actually make a third realistic target that West Ham would have bid on? Well, firstly, let's not forget the news that we were given on Tuesday, like I've already said. One of the 3 bids looks pretty certain. There's a good chance we could sign 2 players, but we're certainly not going to get 3. So therefore, when you think about the names that I've mentioned, which of them are certain? Well, I think it's certain that we have made a bid, and it looks like we could get over the line the signing of 20-year-old Ngal'Ayel Mukau of Lille. I've given you quite a lot of details over the past few weeks about this player's benefits. Natural holding midfielder, blends physicality with technical promise, capable ball winner, excellent at breaking down opposition possession. He's direct, he's confident, he's got pace, and he's a versatile midfielder who can play as a 6, an 8, and even sometimes as a number 10. But he is primarily a defensive midfielder, a holding midfielder, and someone who will eventually flourish as he develops to become a box-to-box midfielder that we desperately crave. And then Fernandes. It's been confirmed that we have made this bid for Fernandes. And this is the one that I think maybe is a 50-50. Maybe we might, maybe we won't get him. My gut tells me I don't think we will succeed in getting him. Now, as I've said, we've upped our £30 million bid. Now, apparently Southampton are looking at anything near £45 to £50 million. So I doubt very much that we've increased our offer by £15 to £20 million. Now, I did say last week the gap seems to be too big. So I would imagine, without knowing the detail, that we've probably made a bid of what, 35 million? Now, I'm not denying he's a good player and he'll improve us, just like Mukau would. He's a progressive ball carrier, takes the confident in carrying the ball into the opposition's half. He's very successful at take-ons, and he gets stuck in on tackles as well. But in the attacking end of the field, he's not as prolific as we might hope. But again, like I said last week, that might be more down to having played for a very poor Southampton team than anything else. Now, in a way, he's not too dissimilar to Mukau, but he's valued at around £20 million more than the Congolese international player. So that's two of the three. But how about the third player, who is currently not identified? Now, as I've already mentioned, there's a very strong indication that the third bid could be for Middlesbrough's Haydn Hackney. 21 years of age, was part of the England under-21 squad who beat Germany in the Euro Championship finals. And although he didn't get much game time, as much as, say, James McAtee or Harvey Elliott, he still played a pivotal role in the qualifiers to get England to the finals. Now, he's another player who, over time, could become a fantastic box-to-box midfielder. An excellent passer of the ball, drops deep to collect the ball and initiates attacking play. And again, he's versatile, being able to play in a number of midfield roles. And Hackney comes at a much lower price than most of the other targets that we've been linked to, with a potential £15 million bid suggesting that that could seal the deal for this player. Now, of the names, I think Haydn Hackney could be that second, quite possibly getting, along with Mukau, Hackney, and then a possible 50-50 on Fernandes. Now, the other names mentioned in previous transfer windows to this summer's one include, as I've said, Jonathan Rowe. Now, Marseille boss Roberto De Zerbi has told the 22-year-old that he and Adrien Rabiot will never play for the team again after their physical altercation following the club's defeat at the hands of Rennes in the opening game of French League One last weekend. Rowe was on loan to Marseille last season, and it's only recently made his contract permanent this summer for a fee of €14.5 million. He's primarily an attacking midfielder who's also mainly used out on the wing, and he was the player that actually got the match winner against Germany in those under-21 Euro finals. Now, I'm not sure we need another winger in our ranks right now. There seems to be a concerted effort to get central midfielders, and although Rowe is adaptable, I don't think he'd be the kind of box-to-box midfielder that we're currently seeking. Well, what about another player that would be? And that, of course, is Conor Gallagher of Atletico Madrid. Now, he was linked to us during David Moyes' time at the club, and it was suggested that part of the reason why Gallagher moved abroad was that he didn't want to play for another club in the Premier League against his beloved Chelsea. 25 years of age, he's been at Atletico just for one season, valued at around £40-odd million, and apparently he's got a contract with the Spanish club till 2029, earning something like £200,000 a week. Now, that clearly puts him out of the equation for West Ham. But again, he's another player that has been linked to Crystal Palace, again, as a potential replacement for Eze. And finally, for now, The new name that we've been linked to is Barcelona's Marc Casado, 21 years of age, defensive midfielder. He's a product of the Barca youth system, and he's made 41 senior appearances for the club so far. Now, he was a regular starter last season, but a ligament injury curtailed his playing time. Now, he is the classic anchorman, the classic defensive midfielder that doesn't really step away from his duty in that part of the pitch. He's impressed the likes of Liverpool and Arsenal, who may be looking to sign him if he does not get to play for the Spanish club regularly. Now, he's the sort of player who would do all the hard graft in midfield to allow the flair players to drive. And that's not a bad thing. West Ham could do with something like that. But without doubting his ability, is that the kind of midfielder that we're looking for? Alvarez is meant to be a bit the same, and yet we're shipping him out on loan. Now, it's suggested that a bid of around £25 million could tempt Barcelona to sell. He would certainly add a stability to midfield, but I'm not so sure that he would help us resolve the issues of needing players who are box to box and who have pace and energy. So I don't know. I think it's an interesting link, but I'm not sure it's the right link. Now, if I was a betting man, like I've already mentioned, to me, the three bids are for Mukau, Fernandes, and Haydn Hackney. And as I've already said, I think Mukau is the one that's nailed on. I think Haydn Hackney, there's a very good chance of getting him, but I'm just not sure that we would actually get Fernandes over the line. But let's not also forget that there is another player that we apparently are still interested in and who is still available. And that, of course, is Harvey Elliott of Liverpool. Look, at least we're making bids. We've left it quite late, but it's not too late to actually put right what we already know we're lacking in our central midfield. Let's see how this week pans out. It's looking like Alvarez has got a decision to make. He's got choices. And like I said in the show yesterday, the best offer for us at this moment in time is Fenerbahce making a loan bid, and they will pay a fee for the loan, and they will also take on his whole wages. All the other clubs like Inter Milan, etc., don't look to be offering that kind of deal. So maybe Alvarez doesn't fancy Fenerbahce, but we would absolutely fancy that because it's the best financial deal for us. That's going to be interesting to see how that pans out as well. You know, we've got now, 12 days left of the transfer window, something like that. We need to do our business this week. We can't leave it till the last week. Let's at least get one midfielder in, and let's at least, aim to get another one in by the end of the week, by the weekend. And then we stand some chance of competing against these teams who have got a lot more pace and a lot more energy in their midfield than we currently have. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. If you want to become a subscriber and a member of the channel, please click on the link that's scrolling across the bottom of the screen. And I will see you all again very soon.